couple of days ago, it was claimed that Donald Trump called third world countries like Haiti and the African continent as a whole shitholes, El Salvador as well. And suddenly the whole world, to for lack of a better term, flipped the shit over it. And suddenly people were complaining that the president was, denigrating people for the countries that they were coming from. Well, the issue kind of comes to a head when you see an entire world community led by, especially by Germany's Angela Merkel, who has ruined her country in many ways, say that their country needs to admit more and more immigrants from horrible hellholes that they come from, basically shitholes. And the problem is you can go from example to example, and what exactly would he have said that's inaccurate if he did say it? Now, how are these countries usually referred to? I think the term that I grew up hearing about was third world. Does that sound very respectful? Now, the third world was coined originally talking about nations that are not part of either the USA and Canada and the other Western European nations and Japan and South Korea, or the Soviet Union, China, Cuba, and their allies represented by the Second World. Now, there is no more Second World because they all fell apart. Some of these Second World countries have become shitholes and fallen into the second world, the third world. I can even show you a map here. It's pretty, it's pretty cut and dry. All you have to do is look here, and you see these are considered, the red is the second world, and you see Ethiopia and Somalia became third world countries. I mean, they used to be second world countries, and they've regressed. Would you call Vietnam a first world country? No. The this is all about how people feel about their country of origin. And if they felt so good about it, if they felt it was not a shithole, they would not be leaving it in droves. Look, um, nobody cares how these people feel because the president of the United States may have called their country a shithole. Okay, President Obama bombed plenty of these shithole countries, and President Bush turned a couple of these countries into shitholes. Okay, Iraq was not a great country. It was made even worse by invading it and leveling it to the ground, as President Bush did. Okay, and a lot of my conservative counterparts will say, "Oh, you're such a you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Iraq was a hole because of Saddam Hussein." Well, sorry, but destroying the Saddam regime did not make Iraq a better country. And we're always trying to fight for a better tomorrow. How do you go and fight for a better tomorrow? I was discussing that movie yesterday with a friend, the movie A Better Tomorrow, which is from Hong Kong, and and how do you make a better tomorrow if you're always pretending that the shitty yesterday was so awesome? You can't. Okay, you have to have a certain amount of goals in mind, and one of the goals should be to eliminate the negative things that are happening. And when you look at some of these cholera and disease-ridden cesspools that are around the world, uh, bringing the people from there into the United States does not solve their problems. Okay, I'm sorry to tell you. I'm sorry to tell you, as Justin Trudeau says, that it's not going to work. Because when you take the people who move out of those countries, often they are, the people who would be the working poor, who would be able to change the country, the people who are the most destitute, who have literally nothing to put on their backs, no, they often wouldn't even be able to leave their country of origin. They wouldn't have the means to even get anywhere. Okay. It's not as if people who are against migration hate the people who are trying to migrate. That's not the case. One of the things that I always, and I was going to try to interview one of these guys, but he doesn't have good connections. But I always seem to find these people from Morocco, which is not considered a shithole compared to the rest of Africa. But in the Rif Mountains of Morocco, you actually see a lot of these people who are living without heat, and this is a desert, but at night, especially in certain seasons of the year, no, it's freezing cold, even though there's no snow, and the government comes in and beats the living shit out of them if they try to express their views against the Arab-speaking government. These are people that they're members of the Amazigh minority, for example. And it's no wonder then that there is lots of migration from Morocco. Does that mean that if you let all those people leave Morocco, it would become a better country? Absolutely not. When you have the people who are oppressed leave a country, that doesn't make that country a better place. In fact, the people that are left there, they don't have anything to gain from that. The people who are left there remain with the same regime, and that's how you get this continuing erosion of quality in many of these countries. You would have, uh, there's uh, Morocco is an excellent example, but look at Haiti. Yeah, there have been generations of people who have emigrated from Haiti. It remains an awful place. It is a shithole. There's no way to not say it's a shithole if somebody mentions that. Okay, now the third world moniker that was given um, to many of these countries is itself kind of an insult, because it was, or not an insult. It's a diminution of their worth in the world, but because the person who coined it was apparently a French anthropologist, Alfred Salvi, and he said that it was basically a counterpart to the Third Estate from the French Revolution. This dispossessed, poor, um, disenfranchised group of people that rose up against the First and Second Estates. Well, I'm sorry, but the French Revolution didn't solve the problems of the Third Estate. Okay, the French Revolution, in fact, it ended up bringing to power Napoleon. So exactly, um, how is it better to continue to refer to these countries as the third world as opposed to referring to them as what they actually are, which are poor shitholes? They're countries where people are incapable of, basically improving their lives from generation to generation. Improving their lives and their family lives. I've known people from all over the world who came here to this isn't the best part of America either. No offense, guys, but it is. I mean, our city is considered a shithole by the standards of most of the rest of America, and then we think of other cities like Detroit as shitholes in turn, and then Detroit thinks of, well, I guess they don't have anywhere to point to. Okay, there's Newark, and um, it's pointless to try to sugarcoat things. The person who claimed that Donald Trump said that these countries are shitholes is from a shithole himself. He's from Illinois. He's a senator from Illinois. Today I saw in the news, and no, this isn't a knock against people from Chicago or whatever. I am a Cubs fan, but um, there was a candidate for attorney general, Democratic candidate from attorney general. His name was uh, Aaron Goldstein. He was robbed at gunpoint by a number of people with his whole entourage. This is from Breitbart, but it's also from the Chicago Tribune. Candidate for Illinois Attorney General robbed at gunpoint. Okay, that this stop pretending that we need to handle the truth with kid gloves. Okay, these countries fucking suck. Our city here is a hole. The fucking water department, they send me these bills and whatever. What the hell am I paying for? They're trying to get me to pay for a new sewer upgrades. They're increasing the rates all the time, whatever. So uh, everybody, to some degree, lives in a shithole, unless you're one of those people that has it all set up. And those are the people complaining the most right now about the shithole comment. Okay, yeah, you have Stephen Colbert going on TV saying, "Well, America's really the shithole because Donald Trump is the president." Sorry, Stephen Colbert. I seem to have missed the part where people want to move to a shithole country from the other countries. How is America the shithole when other people want to move here? I'm wondering how that works. Stephen Colbert, the guy who said that Trump, the only thing his mouth is good for is as a cock holster for Vladimir Putin. Well, I think his words, he's the last person to complain about the decency of public office. This is a guy who's made the past 2 years all about him trying to stay ahead of Donald Trump by being more vulgar and more, out of step with uh, the human decency that he claims to uphold. I don't hold this as the same standards. I'll take whatever anybody wants to say up front, whether it's against me or against anybody else. I'm willing to listen to it, and that's about it. So really, uh, if you think that a shithole is a bad term to use for a country that's completely failed and is basically relying on foreign aid, then I'm wondering what do you want to call it? What do you want to call it? Failed state is not a strong enough term. Third world isn't a strong enough term. Okay, I'm done. I'm done sugarcoating it, and I think a lot of other people are too.